So yesterday was also the disappearance of Sridhar Kolavicha and Mukund Datta. So we're going to have a quick look at Mukund Datta first. Okay. In Braja, there were two very nice singers named Madhukanta and Madhuvrata. They appeared in Chaitanya Leela as Mukunda and Vasudev Dutt. They were brothers. So this is in the Gaura Gana Desha, Dipika. Mukund had a melodious voice, and he knew the intricacies of musical meters and rags. His sweet kirtan would please all the Vaishnavas at Navadvip. Tuning into Lord Gaura's Hari art, he would sing songs matching Lord Gauranga's feelings. Mukund Datta was Nimai Pandit's classmate at Ganga Das's school. When Lord Chaitanya was a student, Mukund Datta was his friend, and they frequently engaged in logical arguments. If devotees remember, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first enrolled into the school of Ganga Das, he became really a great scholar. He would debate in logic and defeat everybody, annoyingly. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would fight with Mukund Datta using tricks of logic. When Mahaprabhu returned from Gaya, Mukund Das gave him pleasure by reciting verses from the Bhagavatam about Krishna Leela. It was by his endeavor that Gadadhar Pandit became a disciple of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So Mukund Datta is actually an incredible personality. He knew the power of Pundarik, and he introduced Gadadhar to Pundarik. And Gadadhar initially was thinking, Pundarik is no better than a materialist. But then Mukund Datta recited a verse from the Bhagavatam, which made Pundarik Vidyanidhi go into ecstasy. And then Gadadhar realized he made a terrible mistake. And of course, Pundarik Vidyanidhi in his previous life in Brajalila is none other than Radharani's father, Vrishabhanu. When Mukund Datta sang in the courtyard of Srivas Prabhu, Mahaprabhu danced with his singing. And when Lord Chaitanya for 21 hours exhibited an ecstatic manifestation as Satapara Praharihaya, Mukund Datta inaugurated this function by singing. So what an important role, huh? When Mahaprabhu experienced Mahabharata for 7 days in Srivas Pandit's house, different devotees saw him in different forms. Devotees of Ramachandra saw Mahaprabhu as Ramachandra. Devotees of Vishnu saw him as Vishnu. Others saw him in form of Nrsimha, and yet others saw him as different incarnations of Vishnu. In that gathering, due to Mukunda, because he attended many functions held by different classes of non-devotees, Mahaprabhu restricted Mukund Prabhu. I shall not give you darshan. Oh, Mukund Prabhu remained outside, weeping. Seeing him cry, the devotees reported to Mahaprabhu. Mukund is very sad. He wants to end his life by drowning in the river Ganga. He does not want to maintain his body if he cannot see your form. He is continually crying outside. So then Mukund sent a message with the devotees also, asking Mahaprabhu, when shall I see your form? And Mahaprabhu replied, after crores of birth, he will be able to see me. So that's a long time. But hearing this, Mukund became very happy and began dancing outside the entrance. Oh, after only crores of births, I will again see Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I have no problem. Crores of births I can tolerate to again have his darshan. And hearing this reaction of Mukund Datta, Mahaprabhu became very happy. And he said, now he has already crossed those crores of births and he can see me. He can come immediately. This is really instructive. So many times reverses come in our life. And if we take those reverses as blessings of the Lord, then the Lord reduces those reverses into nothing. So we thank the Lord for those reverses. So this reverse, crores of birth, Mukund Datta took it very positively. And immediately Mahaprabhu reduced it down to nothing. So the devotee is called Mukund. Oh, Mukund, come. Mahaprabhu is calling you, but Mukund said, Mahaprabhu said, after crores of births, then how can I go there now? If I go now, I will not be able to see the real form of Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, it will be illusion. I do not want to go there now. But Mahaprabhu said, now his crores of births have gone and he can come and see me. Mahaprabhu overlooked him because he had offended Bhakti Devi, who gives devotional service. Mukund placed her on an equal level with karma, gyan, or even Mayavad philosophy whenever he talked to followers of those paths. Acting like a chameleon, Mukund would glorify bhakti to bhaktas and then debate useless, mundane topics with karmis. And with Mayavadis, he discussed impersonalism. Mukund chastised himself. However, Mahaprabhu became pleased with his humility and he showed him his real form. Mukund also saved Gadadhar. Yeah, we know that one. Before disclosing his desire to take the renounced order of life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first went to the house of Mukund Datta. But at that time, Mukund Datta requested Chaitanya to continue his Sankirtan movement for a few more days before taking sannyas. So he accepted that. He spent a few days with Mukund Datta. Lord Chaitanya's accepting sannyas was made known to Gadadhar Pandit, Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mukund Datta by Nityananda Prabhu. And therefore, all of them went to Katwa and arranged for kirtan and all the paraphernalia. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas amidst Mukund's kirtan. In the place known as Jaleshwar, Nityananda Prabhu broke the sannyas rod of Mahaprabhu. Mukund Datta was also present at that time. And he would go every single year to Bengal to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath, from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. So this is the pastime of Mukund Datta, very interesting devotee of the Lord, very instructive lessons from his life. So we have to be careful. We don't insult Bhakti Devi. We should understand Bhakti is the topmost. And this is the example from Mukund Datta's life. Karma, Gyan, Mayavad philosophy can't compare with Bhakti. So we are very, very fortunate. It's important to understand that. And then the next personality we can also talk about now, and that's Sridhar. You want to read this?
Prabhuji, we can't see your screen.
Oh my God. Sorry. Thank you. Well done. I've just gone through Mukund Datta and nobody could see it. Okay. Anyway, that's fine. Now I can see it. So this is, now we'll talk about Sridhar.
Kola Vecha Seva Kara Deka Bhagya Sima Brahma Shiva Kande Yara Dekhiya Mahima Dhane Jane Panditye Krishna Nahi Paye Kevala Bhakti Ravasa Chaitanya Gosani. Behold the great fortune of the devotee Kola Vecha. Lord Brahma and Shiva shed tears upon seeing his greatness. One cannot attain Lord Krishna by any amount of wealth, followers, or learning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is controlled only by pure devotion.
So this is a really special devotee, Sridhar Kolavicha, Sridhar Pandit. One of the 12 Gopals in Krishna Lila was named Kusum Sava. And he appeared in Gaur Lila as Sridhar Pandit, who was given the nickname Kola Vecha, i.e. Vecha means seller and Kola bark seller. This is in the Gaura Ganadesha Dipika. Sridhar Pandit was a Brahmin resident of Mayapur, and in the place which is now known as Sridhar Angan. Sridhar was doing a small business selling banana and cups made from the leaves of the banana tree, the plantain tree. And his income was almost nothing. You can't make much money selling banana leaves. But still, he was spending 50% of his small income on the worship of the Ganga. And with the other 50%, he was somehow living. One day, the Lord went to Sridhar. So Lord knew this. He went to Sridhar's place and he asked him why he was so poor. He was worshipping the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. And yet he never had enough money for food or clothes, and his house was dilapidated. On the other hand, those who worshipped the devatas always seemed to have an abundance of material wealth. So Sridhar answered that a bird who has made its nest in the trees and wandered from place to find food was passing the time of day in the same way as a king in his palace who enjoyed the best objects of gratification. So he's comparing how the king's enjoyment is no different than that of a bird. What's the difference between the two? There was no difference of degree or amount of pleasure experienced by the two. The Lord said to Sridhar, externally though you appear to be poor, you're actually a rich man. How is he rich? He's got spiritual gyan. He's got knowledge. Material wealth and prosperity are not the signs of the Lord's mercy on somebody. Those who worship the gods and demigods are generally seen to prosper materially, but one who is rich in the wealth of bhakti to the Lord is the one who has truly benefited from his mercy. So this is really amazing lesson. Gauranga gave this teaching to his associates, to Sridhar Pandit. The devotee of Vishnu is free from attachments to material possessions and enjoyments. By way of example, during Krishna Lila, Vidur played the part of a poor man, but one who was rich in love for Krishna. On the other hand, Duryodhan possessed unlimited riches, but had no love for Krishna, and thus was truly poor. On a famous night, when the Lord sat on the altar in Srivas Thakur's home and revealed his divine form to the devotees for 21 hours, showing them all different incarnations of Vishnu, one after the other. Then he told them to bring Sridhar there also. And Sridhar, he would regularly stay up the whole night, chanting the holy names and calling out to the Lord. This was a source of happiness to the devotees. But those who were not devotees would complain that he was keeping them up with his noise, and they would regularly criticize and rebuke him. As the devotees were going to his house, so remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had told them, go and get Sridhar. They could hear him chanting loudly from a considerable distance prior to arriving. When he came to Srivas Angam, Sridhar beheld the glorious divine form of the Lord and fell to the ground in a faint. So this is an idea of Sridhar. Lord Gauranga showed him Krishna Balaram. He was brought back to consciousness by the Lord's voice, and then with the power that was given him through the Lord's mercy, began recitation of different hymns of glorification. Satisfied with Sridhar's hymn of praise, Mahaprabhu wished to give him the 8 mystic powers as a benediction. Right? This is, you can become smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. You can reach anywhere and take anything you want. But Sridhar refused, saying he only wanted to serve the Lord's lotus feet. This is really amazing. Here we go. This is the 8 mystic siddhis. So power of becoming small, like a particle, lighter than the soft feather, get anything and everything from anywhere and everywhere, become heavier than the heaviest, act freely even to create something wonderful or annihilate anything at will. So they can create planets if they want to, control all material elements, possess such power as never be frustrated in any desire, to assume any shape or form that they want. So these are mystic powers which
Prabhuji, Agasura used Mahima Siddhi.
Yes, very good. Yeah,
He
that's right.
expanded himself heavier.
Yeah, that's right.
Prabhuji,
And
I prepared a presentation in Agasur. Can I present one day?
yes, definitely. Last time you tried to present, we couldn't hear you properly. So let's hope your internet improves. Huh?
Yes, Prabhuji. This the internet is coming low.
Okay. The
Internet is-
devotees don't care for these mystic powers because they are an obstacle on bhakti,
Yes.
path of bhakti. We don't want these because they won't help us. They'll just make us proud and deviate us from our real business, which is to get this prema bhakti. Lord Vishwambar repeatedly urged Sridhar to ask for a boon. Finally, Sridhar said, Lord, if you must give me something, then I ask for this. May that Brahmin who used to pinch my banana leaves. This is the thing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I used to have a lot of fun with Sridhar. He used to steal his banana leaves and bark, be my Lord, lifetime after life. May that Brahmin who used to argue with me be my master and I serve his lotus feet. This is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Very nice. So this is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He had this to say. No one can recognize the true character of a devotee. It should not be thought that the ability to collect great amounts of money is a function of devotion. Of course, we can try to use it for the service of the Lord, but it doesn't mean that one has devotion. Know that someone who is able to accumulate a great number of followers is a better Vaishnava than someone who cannot. So one may have thousands of devotees as disciples or none. Actually, that is not a sign of devotion. Furthermore, if someone is a great religious scholar, this does not mean he is a devotee of the Lord. A servant of Chaitanya might have very little money, may show no sign of having a great number of followers, may have no talent for argument or debate, and ordinary people who are unable to understand why he is indifferent to these externals. These devotees consider service to Mahaprabhu to be something more valuable than the accumulation of wealth, followers, or learning. Thus, there is no possibility of the depth of their wisdom, their glories, and their superiority being perceived by general public. So this is the position of Sridhar. It's extraordinary. Gauranga showed this amazing pastime of hungrily taking Sridhar's foodstuffs without even being invited to do so. How amazing is that? Huh? While the Lord was engaged in his student pastime, Sridhar used to make his living by selling bananas. He would always tell the real price of an item he would sell. Everyone in Navadvip knew this and so would not haggle with him. But Gauranga would come to Sridhar and give him only half the amount he was asking for his bananas, and then start to walk away with them. Every day, the two of them would pull back and forth on a bunch of bananas or something else, arguing for an hour or more over the price that was to be paid. Even though he argued with Sridhar, when he saw that he did not become angry, he would take all the goods that he was selling. Even though this is the way that it looks from a superficial point of view, the fact of the matter is that when Sridhar saw the beautiful form of the Lord, he allowed him. At the sight of the Lord's beauty, he would become enchanted and immersed in an ocean of joy. While arguing with him, Mahaprabhu would call him names in great satisfaction, sometimes subtly hinting at his own divinity. Every day you are buying things to offer to the Ganga. Why don't you give something to me without charging anything? Don't you know I am the father of the Ganga that you worship? I am telling you the truth about this. They finally came to a settlement. Sridhar agreed to daily give Mahaprabhu some bananas and other items from the banana tree for free. From then on, the Lord would daily eat with great satisfaction from the little bowls made of banana bark that was given to him by Sridhar. Amazing, absolutely amazing. When Mahaprabhu was leading the Sankirtan party after delivering Chand Kasi. He returned via Sridhar Pandit's house. He then took a drink of water. Oh, yeah, from Sridhar's old beaten iron water pot. When Sridhar saw Mahaprabhu do this, he was mortified and he fell unconscious. Mahaprabhu's actions were meant to teach us that by drinking a devotee's water, we can attain devotion. He wanted to show that the water from a devotee's water jug, even though it is old and rusty, is like nectar to the Supreme Lord even himself. The Lord is Bhakta Vatsal, he ever affectionate towards his devotees. Tears poured from Gauranga's eyes like the currents of the Ganga, and a wonderful kirtan began in Sridhar's courtyard, in which all the devotees led by Nityananda and Advaita Prabhus were crying. What an extraordinary devotee. So humble, so poor, yet so rich. Sridhar lived in a wretched house with holes in its roof. And he could have sought immediate relief from the pathetic condition. But he said his house was better than a bird's nest, for nests have no roofs at all. So at least he's got something. The day before Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Sridhar came to see the Lord carrying Karela. When the Lord saw the gift, he laughed and he asked, "Where did you get it?" But he knew that he would be leaving the next day and would not be able to eat it. He did not want to see the gift go unused, so he made Sachi Devi prepare it that very day. See the beauty of the Lord. Sridhar came every year to Puri to meet the Lord at the time of Rath Yatra. There is the story of, and this is Prabhupada, Kola Vichat Sridhar, a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, who, although he was a very poor man, gave half of his meager income for worshipping Mother Ganga. And by doing so, he greatly pleased the Lord. It is not so important that the quantity of books that we distribute, but that we serve Krishna as best as we can and depend on him for the results. Sridhar Pandit ki jai. Thank you so much. Anybody, any questions or any doubts, anything that you'd like to share? Otherwise, we can transport ourselves to the Nrsimha Kavach. Oh, I think I might have had it there. Let's just open that again. Oh no,